I mean, yeah, we're entering into a rather sluggish recovery at the moment, so definitely industrial is the one to look out for. It's sort of long-term play, it's high yielding at the moment, and really across Europe, really. So yes, it's all about e-commerce at the moment. I mean, if we're looking at sort of real detailed trends, we can talk about X-shoring if you like. So the likes of sort of e-commerce type companies who need the logistics are not looking to place their assets in Asia anymore. They're actually relocating back into Europe. Why? Because they're just sort of following domestic demand, which is changing ever so quickly. So the likes of Desigual, if you like, that used to have logistics space in Asia has now relocated it back into Spain to be able to match ever-increasing, changing investor demand. And certainly, if we will look at the X-shoring as a trend on its own, the CEE is quite favourable as well, because of its low transport costs, because of its low labour costs. So with respect to Brazil, China is definitely one to watch. So industrial is my favourite.
Well, I think the office sector is certainly the most aggressively priced sector in Germany. Also, of course, in the same kind of region as the big residential portfolios. I think there's the lowest potential from our point of view. I think the shopping center sector is about fairly priced because you're rather talking about NOIs there than about gross yields, and I think of course there are risks there as well, but it's a little more fairly priced. But where we like to operate is just in this gap, as we already said, between prime markets and secondary markets, where you say, okay, it's a prime product, is a retail warehouse, newly developed, and on long leases with strong operators, but in cities that external investors have never heard of. So we just said Bielefeld is boring, but now talking about Bad Salzuflen, which is even more remote or boring, but it's a city of 50,000 people. But you have to see that you have good contacts to developers and go into those markets early and try to work on the value chain early. So rather looking at central city assets in those smaller cities that need refurbishment, bring in a developer and buy those assets earlier than waiting for the tendency that this market also have. Currently, in talking about Bad Salzuflen again, there's a vendor who thought it's a good idea to give an existing asset with a just prolonged lease to 3 brokers and let 3 brokers run in parallel. And then, having identified a few interested parties, running a due diligence with 6 parties at the same time. So, of course, that are tendencies in the market that you don't want to have as an investor, and where you're not really interested. So you have to get up out of bed earlier and secure those assets that are interesting you at an earlier time. But coming back to the markets, we are interested in those kind of retail warehouses and at the same time logistic hubs. Those are the 2 markets in Germany that we are especially interested in.